Hello, hello. This is Friday Reds. We're gonna begin pretty soon, about 7 more minutes, 8 Pacific Standard Time, California, USA, Stanislaus County, and we're gonna, do our show again. Copyrighted 2023, e.Celi All Rights Reserved. Instagram Live, Friday Reds. We're gonna be on in about 7 minutes, and here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So we're going to tune my guitar a little bit, then we'll proceed. This is in character as Professor Benjamin Washington, alias Chief Kukunaj, and alias Email Stanley Jakowski. All right, we're talking soft because we're trying to run our application here. Trying to activate the guitar tuner. See, what time is it? It's we have 5 more minutes, folks. Waiting for people to show up. Again, this is Friday Reds, Instagram Live. We usually do a philo, first in, last out. And then we talk about the past, and then we talk about the present, then we talk about the future, and then we do the philo, which is first in, last out. And in our intro, the philo is the Lord's Prayer, and then next to that is the National Anthem 2.0, and then they start talking about the beginning, middle, and end. And then we do again the philo. We close with the Star Spangled Banner, National Star Spangled Preamble, National Anthem 2.0, and we'll do a close with the Lord's Prayer. So that's the beginning of the circle. We begin with the circle, we go around, and then we close with the circle, all right? So we're entering the circle right now. All right. We got 2 more minutes. We're going to begin the show. This is again Professor Benjamin Washington. We it's Instagram Live, Friday Reds. Hopefully people will show up. In the meantime, it's Friday's April 28th. A few more days till the end of the week. So what's going on here? All right. It is exactly 8 p.m. So I'm gonna check out Our Father who art in heaven. Holy is thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from every evil. Amen. All right, that is our That's our opening prayer, the Lord's Prayer. That's how we begin with the circle. Matthew's 28 chapter. Matthew's chapter 6, the Lord's Prayer. All right, so we also open with the Star Spangled Banner, but modified with the added preamble of the Constitution of the United States, "We the People," the preamble, so we call it the Star Spangled Preamble. And July 4th is coming up. It's the birthday of the United States from 1776 to 1812. But in the 1960s, civil rights happened, and the rights for, the civil rights was already in place in post-Civil War by the proclamation of June 16th, I believe. But the 1870s, the 15th Amendment. So what I'm saying is the Star Spangled Preamble is what we deliver in our intro. So it goes like this. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Hello, hello, welcome. That was our intro on our Instagram live Friday Reds. We call it the National Anthem 2.0, the Star Spangled Preamble. All right, we're hoping to sing that on July 5th or celebrate it. Dan Villarand, local guitar singer, songwriter here in Stanislaus County. It's his birthday, July 5th. He's a special guy that I met here in Stanislaus County. So, as a professor of focus on politics, I did some past research and I looked at the biography of Abraham Lincoln, and there's some good. If you search on YouTube, you will see a clip on Abe Lincoln's biography. So Abe Lincoln was a very special man. So before 1870s, again, I wanted to comment on the 1870 brewing company that started as a startup here in 911 J Street in Modesto, California, downtown. We were just saying that prior to 1870s, let's just talk about Abe Lincoln himself, his character. Because, again, Dr. Martin Luther King, a Bible reading man, he says, judge a person's character. See, Dr. Martin Luther King knew what he was talking about because he read scriptures. And so you judge people's characters. And not their exterior features, but their character. So understanding Abe Lincoln and prior to 1870, the 15th Amendment, we have to look at the 14th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, because the 13th and the 14th were Abe Lincoln was very instrumental in delivering the Emancipation Proclamation, and that was the difficulties after 1870s. But it was also a story where Abe Lincoln, in his second term, he pursued his second term, and he won the election, but he was assassinated by an actor in a theater in 1865. But the Emancipation Proclamation and the that proclamation that blacks are free men. So a lot of this was the war during the Civil War already. It was going on. It was happening. The South, and family, the South and the North, the Union and the Yankees and the Confederates. They were already arguing about ownership, slave, or the methods of the businessmen. Okay, the businessmen, the Southern businessmen and the Northern businessmen. They were arguing with each other. I mean, they're brothers or cousins or whatever. They're basically arguing. All these southern states and northern states. And so the divide happened, and it happened during the term of Abe Lincoln, presidential term. Um, you know, those Confederates wanted to be separated, you know, separated states from the United States. And of course, Washington, D.C., Virginia, the North, they they didn't want they wanted all the states to be united and no separation. There would have been two countries during 1861 to 1865. But 1864, Lincoln finished his term and he was leader. He hired several generals, McClellan and several generals, but he eventually got Ulysses S. Grant. And of course, the Confederates had Robert E. Lee. So it was a battle between siblings, brothers, the United States. You know, the white brothers, the white people were arguing, they were fighting, you know. But during the hey, what's up, Christian? During the battles, the Southern Confederates were winning, so we had to. We're talking about the past. Why white businessmen were fighting each other between Confederates and the Union, and it was all about business and the way the United States was running and how the business people in the South, how they wanted to run their businesses, and the North, how they wanted to run their businesses. Although they didn't want people of color to be, equal to the white, and they always had this kind of mentality that people of color were always going to be servants. But in the 1864, 63 Emancipation Proclamation occurred, and free men of the South. So a lot of the blacks exodus up to the North. They joined the Union. They became Buffalo Black soldiers, and it increased their. The Union became a lot more stronger in numbers with black soldiers against the Confederates, and so the South eventually lost the war, the Civil War. But a lot of the Southerners, the losers, they refused to accept the fact that their slaves were now free by the, Abe Lincoln's proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation. And then General Sherman, because a lot of the Southern officers fled their land or place in the South. General Sherman of the North said, "Hey, uh, all the soldiers in the North, I mean, all the blacks that are still in the South, you can stay and take over these land." And it was a command number 15, General Sherman said that, every black that remains will get a 40 acres and a mule. But at the time, at the time, you know, before 1865, before April, this month, April of 1865, you know, Abe Lincoln had it all get it, situation where the transition for free men, that people will be treating people of color, blacks, to be equal as working citizens, as labor, and just businesses to just hire them with certain minimum wage, and that not treat them as slaves like the way in the Moses time frame. And of course, the Emancipation Proclamation, that was like a Moses, uh, because Abe Lincoln and the North, well, most of the North that were abolitionists, they were trying to set people free from the South, from slavery, they had belief that, yeah, all men are created equal. And so the proclamation, emancipation, if you were really read that, that was the implementation. Because in Abe Lincoln's earlier years, he always thought that, white supremacy, in his thinking, white supremacy was okay. That, yeah, the white should run the United States. It should be white businessmen should run by the United States. And, the country was built on white men. And, of course, genocide red men and enslaved black men. But in the thinking of the North, especially Lincoln, is, um, witnessing cruelty to human beings that are black. It didn't look good, according to, in Springfield, Illinois, where he settled. Left his home because he witnessed his father being cruel and tough to people of color. So Lincoln, as he grew up and he became the president, he was supported with his wife Mary Todd Lincoln, and his first term was good. They won the Civil War, but the plans for Reconstruction had to happen. It was like, in our time, it's like Trump and COVID-19. That was like a civil war for us. But it's not civil war. It's like virus germs and USA citizens. There were a million citizens that died in COVID in this past, year. In the Civil War in the 1870 or 1865, 600,000 relatives, black and white relatives, were killing each other, brothers and sisters, disobeying the law of God, the law of Jesus, laws of Jesus. John 13:33 to 35. Love one another as I've loved you. And then 1 John 4, verse 20-21. How can you claim to love God if you can't love your own brother? And so that was the test for white businessmen of the South and white businessmen of the North, And so Abe Lincoln tried to balance it out. He had to liberate the black slaves to come, exodus out of the South, and be soldiers for the Union. And then, of course, they recruited a lot of Irish white men from Ireland to the North to really defeat the Southern thinking. The Johnny Rebs, that flag, the Confederate flag. So in 1865, on his second election, November 1864, he won the election, and he had a speech in January 1865. And so, we're talking about the past here. Abe Lincoln, prior to 1870, is, again, 911 J Street. There's a brewery, startup company with two ladies, the mom and the daughter. 1870brew.com, all right? Or find them out. But Lincoln, theater, they were celebrating a new term, and an actor named Booth was, he was the there was conspiracy, and they did this plan, and because Booth was an actor for that theater, he was able to freely walk around, and the security guards knew him, the people knew him, and they would have never thought that he would do that. But he shot Abe Lincoln on the head, aimed it on his head, and that was April. That was this month, April 1865. Right. So But the dream of Reconstruction, the way Abe Lincoln wanted, didn't happen. Um, when the next Andrew Johnson took over, when he took over, Andrew Johnson kind of like was not according to Abe Lincoln's plan to reconstruct the South. So it was called Reconstruction. And so 1867, there was still resistance. Um, you know, black people, they were trying to put uh, political leaders, black people, give them education, and basically emancipate and also proclamate that all men are created equal. But by 1870s, the 15th Amendment, I was telling people, black people can vote. And so, but the South still refused, and believe it or not, the South was the Democratic Party. These Confederate flag people were Democrats, and Lincoln and Andrew Johnson, Mary Todd Lincoln, they're Republicans. So in 1870, because the assassination of Abe Lincoln, the fulfillment of a better America, the way it is today, post Dr. Martin Luther King, the civil rights law already was implemented. It was already defined in the Emancipation Proclamation, and the civil rights law was already executed and implemented. But what was happening in the Reconstruction era, when Northerners went to the South to make sure stability happens and none of these Confederate veterans, but they were causing problems. And by 1873, they've launched, 1867, they've launched these KKK groups in the South. The White Knights, they encourage to defy whatever the North, they lost the war, the Civil War, but they wanted to, what you call, in the war, if you lose a fight from someone, you want to get your revenge. So the Confederate people had this mentality of revenge, how to defeat the North in a way where they can't rule them in the South. But land was already given, 40 acres and a mule, to the black freed slaves, the freed men. Blacks were now considered citizens and voters. And so those black Union soldiers, they went back home. They brought their guns with them in the South because their families in the South, but they served the Union. And so they served with the white unions that went to monitor to make sure the transition of the South was going to be a good transition. But resistance, like anything else. And so that's the story of Abe Lincoln. Just go to YouTube, learn about Abe Lincoln, and the time frame. 1861 to 1865. April, rest in peace, Abe Lincoln. You wanted to bring America the way it is today, 2023. Can you believe that? 2023. Abe Lincoln already had a vision for us to be in 2023 the way we are, because we've experienced COVID-19 and 1 million USA citizens died. The same thing, 600,000 US citizens died for a cause, but because the resistance by 1877, these white KKK, they still scared tactics. They still, they wanted to win still against the Union. Even though they already lost the Civil War, they still wanted to regain the way it was, but it's no more. But so they've done it in an outlaw, illegal way, and defy the union. The the goal, though, for presidents eventually, like General Ulysses S. Grant, he became a president too, and he had the situation and the problem with politics, and so I, Professor Benjamin Washington, I'm just trying to tell the difference or the political history of that war between brothers and cousins and blood relatives, that war, civil war, and the COVID virus, the global war, or the present war, like January 6th, the insurrection. These again were raising the rebel Confederate flag, which reminds you that those losers of the Civil War still want to get their revenge. But revenge is not healthy. You know, war is not, internal war is not easy. I mean, if you have a brother and sister, you have conflicts, and you keep fighting and arguing and never resolve. You know, that's not the way of Christ. That's not the way of Jesus. And if people are really truly Christians, they would love their brother, according to 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 and 21, and of course John 13, 33 to 35. Love one another as I've loved you. And how can you claim to love Yahuwah, God, Father God, if you can't love your own brother the way Jesus loved you and I? So those, are biblical, and that's, Dr. Martin Luther King. But today, disobedience of like rap tunes, rappers, disobedient spoken words, you can judge people by their character, the content, and the information they put out. All right. But me, Professor Benjamin Washington, and in today's politics, we have to understand that the switch when the first Catholic president, John F. Kennedy, okay, 1861, 100 years later, 1961, John F. Kennedy became a president, the first Catholic president, right? So that's 100 years from Abe Lincoln to John F. Kennedy, right? And it repeats. It repeated what happened. John F. Kennedy had a similar vision that United States, if we are all loving one another and there is no infighting, we would be able to do space travel, space technology. But because he got killed in 1964, I believe, his vision, I mean, although NASA is based on him, history repeated. 2021, Biden, the second Catholic president, got elected. George Floyd, that situation brings back the people of color conflict. The Emancipation Proclamation. So this was just fairly recent with President Biden, and of course he announced this month that he's going to run for 2024 again. So present time, I, Professor Benjamin Washington, observes that he's repeating what Abe Lincoln did, or maybe what Obama did. So Obama had been a first example of the first black president, but in his second term, oh my God, there are too many white businessmen that oppose him. They increased insurance, they mucked around with employment benefits. They reduced like 25 hours And instead of 40 hours a week work week, corporate America made, those that are pro anti-Obama, these businessmen, they made it difficult for Americans workers to make a living and qualify for insurance in their corporate America. So again, it's these businessmen, whether it be a white businessman or black businessman, it became in Obama's time frame businessmen issues. But even before that, in 1987, businessmen were outsourcing jobs, American jobs. They were already doing that in 1987. But greedy white businessmen and black businessmen, they wanted to make profit. And that's all. Hollywood is like that. Profit, profit, instead of, you know, creating content and creating work that will sustain Americans and their grandchildren to have, medical benefits, working 40 hours a week instead of just 25 hours a week. So Biden is kind of like cleaning up the way Obama cleaned up and the way Abe Lincoln started. Abe Lincoln started everything. And of course, John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Cesar Chavez, Larry Long. People of color have finally participated because of the 1870 15th Amendment. Black men, people of color can vote. And in 1877, sure, the South kind of like had the revenge, but the Confederates by 1877, but many indigenous natives were still looked at as savages, still looked at as animals. A guy named Standing Bear in Nebraska, Omaha, indigenous native, fought hard to gain recognition by the Congress that indigenous people are not savages. We're not, animals. So the United States Post Office recognized it as a stamp of Standing Bear because they were taking all the land from Omaha, Nebraska, but he fought hard that indigenous people are human beings, not animals, not savages. And this was 1879, Omaha, Nebraska. So U.S. Post Office, if you buy a stamp, they have recognized this man, Standing Bear, Chief Standing Bear, right? So present time, we talked about the past, we talked about the politics of the past and the present politics. I think Biden, because he favors the people of color, the Democrats are reversed. They're not the kind of like the Republicans then are not the Democrats now, and the Democrats then are not the Republicans, which is kind of like a swap from because of the Kennedys, the Kennedy brothers, John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, and then eventually Ted Kennedy. Believe it or not, for 2024, Robert Kennedy Jr. Kennedy is going to run to compete against Joe Biden. And then also there's a female candidate, which I love. I am pro female candidate for the Democratic Party. And the same thing in 2024, there's a Republican female candidate. So look for that. Look for a female candidate and please vote for a female candidate for a U.S. president. I, Professor Benjamin Washington, would like to see that. Abe Lincoln was he allowed his wife to be powerful over him. As his partner witnessed it, Lincoln and Herndon were a team, and Herndon witnessed Lincoln, how Lincoln's spouse, Mary Todd Lincoln, you know, strengthen him. She was a very, what makes a good man is a strong woman. That's why I believe it should be the reverse, the way the first gentleman now with Kamala, Vice President Kamala Harris. That's how it should be. There should be a first gentleman for the female president, hopefully by 2024. So look for the two female candidates. Um, Again, I presently, as Professor Benjamin Washington, I'm working on this Instagram Live. Because while I'm here taking care of my elderly mom, I know how my mom was. She was very strong. She pushed my dad to not be procrastinate, pushed all of our kids, to be independent, to be self sustaining. And for myself, I love my mom. I'm more of a Templar, and I said, why would I go out to help widows. I go back in LA. I was helping widows, single moms or single due to their husband passing or wife passing. I help people that lose family members. That's my job as a good Samaritan, a good and a member of the Knights. Templars. That's what you do as a Christian warrior, a spirited warrior. You help other people. That's what Jesus did. He healed. He helped people. He helped people that are possessed, demon possessed. He helped people that were having many husbands. The woman the well in the women at the well. She had 7 husbands. Sometimes you have all sorts of people that you can heal. Mary Magdalena, she was a prostitute, you know, uh, and he spent time healing, and of course, he turned his first miracle in front of his disciples was turn water into wine, right? John 2, right? John chapter 2, at a wedding in Cana, right? Apparently, the wedding party ran out of wine, and Mother Mary said, we need more wine. And Jesus performed a miracle converting water into wine. Red wine, that is. I prefer Merlot. Believe it or not, Death Row Records went bankrupt in 2006, and Snoop Dogg reinvested in it, and he reinvented the business here in Sirius, California, a wine factory. They have a brand. It's a red wine, Merlot, or not Merlot, but it's a red form of red wine. Anyways, so present time, I've been looking at the political. Although my mom is in her late years, I have been trying to cure my siblings to rekindle a routine. Because I alone, I can do it, but it's helpful if you have siblings to also get involved. My mom told me to come here 2014 to bring my dad's uh, to bring my dad's ashes to Maharlika, and it didn't happen until 2016. And I've been wanting to continue my education and create characters and to produce shows. I actually in 2006, well, 2003, 2004, I started a production company, and in 2006, I implemented a TV show, a dance show, intended to have ghost dancing and soul train dancing and American bandstand dancing. all three in one show. I call it Poetry Dances, and I submitted it to the union, SAG or AFTRA at the time. And I've been reviewing it, and I said, while I'm trying to cast in music videos, it's been difficult here in Stanislaus County. You know, I want to ask people if they want to join and want to be in business with me and start up a profit-based uh, content production. So I've been looking at people that are, producing their own videos, producing their own music. I will need danceable songs, danceable music, and I will need a music supervisor to gather all that. But the show could be taped at a venue like Ralston Goat. If it's country, it could be at 911 J Street, 1870. If it's hip hop, reggaeton, Afro American, it'll be My Mimosas, that area. But I have to coordinate with the business owners, even at Donkey's, even at Joint Karaoke's, but it has to be a closed set, so everybody has to sign a release form. But the idea is a profit-based business. So it's going to be, taking the show I created back in 2006 and evolve it to a profit-based TV show or content show, not necessarily TV, but it could be on Netflix or online, and it can be redistributed, syndicated. But it has to be built by a crew, cast and crew. But the goal is to have a crew that can edit and edit a 1 hour dance show or 30-minute dance show. It could be 30 minutes or 1 hour. But the idea is people that dance have to be fearless in front of the camera and fearless to perform a monologue or an improv or, create characters, dance characters. I'm for ghost dancing and mass dancing, our indigenous ghost dancing, mask, yeah, feathers. So that's my present thinking, because I'm not getting any younger, but I need a product that's marketable or sellable, profitable. And what it is it takes to create the shows first. You need the episode. You produce those shows and then you sell the product, and or vice versa. You write a synopsis, and you write a treatment to it, and see if it's multi-season show. But I wanted to create that ghost dance show as a spirited man, because I want to tell the story of at least the indigenous people of the Utu, Aztecan, Alta California, Philippine, Mexico, Maharlika and Atlantis, Aztlan, Turtle Island, and improve our inclusiveness, and make the show profitable for the people that join and volunteer and put their name, credit, as well as have their involvement, and either pay them for hire or pay them in the residual or when the product is sold. Like anything else, you need suppliers. When you do a packaged product like Starbucks coffee, you have to buy the cup, the holder, and then the actual water and coffee inside. It's packaged as a part of the menu. And so creating content, that's the way I know how to show the people here in Modesto, California, Stanislaus County, And when I return to LA, I will do the same thing, a show there. But the idea is to find all the people that are willing to dance in front of a camera, willing to show their body, and then people that are willing to sing or know how to karaoke, read the teleprompt. That's future. But so May Cinco de Mayo is coming up, and that's 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo. For us indigenous people, it's about a resistance from the colonizers. And colonizers keep coming, and all the way to the Cesar Chavez, Leon, uh, United Farm Worker resistance, for better equity, better wages, uh, better working environment. Can you imagine in the 1960s, people that worked in the fields, grape fields or asparagus fields, there's no restrooms. There's no portable, uh, to take a leak and all that. And then breaks, uh, seasonal jobs, you either harvest on time or you plant on time. You know, farming, agriculture, the valley, they've gone through cycles and can feed the rest of the country. But if you don't treat your people right, the way Larry and Leong, the Filipinos that complain about working conditions in Delano, California, you know, and then if you don't complain about these businessmen, they just want your labor. It's all about labor. I mean, from the plantations of the south, you know, businesses in the north, it's all about labor. But they used to make children work, children under 18, slave labor as well as child labor. But they fixed all that. We don't need to return to that. But for some reason, COVID 19, it's like when George Floyd, I mean, Till, Emmett Till, the stories of what happened in the 60s. I mean, civil rights wasn't really enforced in from 1870s, 1867, from 1867, well, after proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation, you know, Abe Lincoln. So future, let's see, how much time we got? Yeah, Miko's birthday. Miiko. Miiko. Son of Michael Van Zant and Sarah Wanti. I met Micah and Sarah in 2016, and probably even earlier, but I met them with a friend, Stephen Jones. He passed away in 2017, October. And I'm in a first group of Stephen Jones, Muggsy, or Michael Perthel, and two other more guys, John, his Stephen Jones' brother, and American Pharaoh step. All right, yeah, I had to go to for some reason the Wi-Fi went down. Oh, all right, so I call American Pharaohs group number two. But I'm thinking now to make American Pharaohs ghost dancers dance. We're gonna focus on dancers first because I was working on guitar players. Guitar players first, trying to show the mainline acoustic slide P tune guitar. Yeah, mainline acoustic slide guitar. The I wanted to show the Hawaiian Kingdom, the Mu Kingdom, the land of creation, because if you look at the maps, it's always blue in the Pacific. It's all blue. It's like it's all water, but no, there are like trickles of little islands everywhere in that blue water in the Pacific. In the map, you see blue. It's like a big distance between California and the Philippines. It's like there's huge, long distance between. But no, there are little islands, like freckles of islands in the Pacific Ocean that interconnect, from Maharlika to Mexico, Atlantis, Aztlan. And that's what I'm saying, that if you even look at all the indigenous people in Turtle Island and the indigenous people of the Pacific, they're all feather wearing indigenous feathers, right? That's the same family. The headdress is feathers, indigenous. But, they try to disconnect us. Like I said, the white supremacists wanted to divide the indigenous people of this continent. I just even saw a documentary that the Smithsonian were hiding, like in the Arizona, the Grand Canyon. There are actually hidden caves and hidden archives of Egyptian style, Aztlan. And it's true. A lot of artifacts and stuff, they've just kind of like shut them off, or they make it alien, saying, "Oh, it's alien from another planet." No, it's indigenous people and the Pacific Kingdom. There are freckles in those blue in the, when you look at the map, there are islands everywhere connecting. I mean, there's even a Christmas Island. Look it up, Christmas Island. It's south of Hawaii. I mean, there is a Christmas Island, but there are islands everywhere in that blue Pacific map. That's always from a point of view that there's no people in the Pacific Ocean. I mean, that Hawaii was, no, there are many inter-islands, land bridges. All right. So, wow, we got 8 more minutes to close. So it's been an hour with a few video pauses. And I don't know. This is Professor Benjamin Washington. Again, I'm working on this character to prepare the politics in Stanislaus County and Modesto. And I'm asking the musicians to sing We the People, along with the Star Spangled Banner, and call it Star Spangled Preamble. All right? This is Professor Benjamin Washington. Copyrighted 2023, e.Celi, all rights reserved. It is April 28th, and I just wanted to remind you that Abe Lincoln, this month in 1865, passed away. And rest in peace, Abe Lincoln, because he started it all. Abe Lincoln started it all. Emancipation Proclamation, Juneteenth. What else can we do? I think we're just gonna Philo closing the outro. The outro is the Star Spangled Preamble, and then the Lord's Prayer, Matthew chapter 6, the Lord's Prayer, how Jesus taught his disciple how to pray to Yahuwah, God the Father. All right, so I'm going to do a Philo, the outro of this Instagram Live, Friday Reds, and it goes. Check out this flag up here. Yeah, the flag, American flag. And so we have to say the preamble and the Star Spangled. So combine it all to a musical. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. ConstitutionUS.com. That's where you find today's laws that we should all abide. There are 27 amendments, and we need another 28th amendment. All right? So look them up at ConstitutionUS.com. All 27 amendments. Because without the First Amendment, freedom of religion, morality is going to hell. And that's what's happening today. There are people that are going to hell, loving Satan, loving evil stuff, evil tongue, evil garbage. But I always stand with Dr. Martin Luther King because he was a Bible reader, and he said, "This is my dream. The content of our character must be judged." And he knew what the difference was between heaven and hell. Right? And a white businessman uplifted these disobedient black rappers, black Africans, disobedient. Yeah, it's freedom of speech. I don't blame them. You just, the book of Ecclesiastes, you let them be what they want to be. They can be animals, fleshy flesh. That's what they want to be. Me, I'm tongues of fire. James chapter 3, the strength of the tongue, and the book of Acts, when the great Holy Spirit in the form of a breeze and the tongues of fire touched every spirit of every man that was in that, regardless of Greek, Jew, whatever the people that were disciples that were at the time after the 50 days of Easter or resurrection. Tongues of Fire. That's my second album. Lucky Woman is in that song. There's songs like You're My One and Only, Mestiza Girl, Filipino Girl, Did I Do You Wrong? Those are in that album, the second album, Tongues of Fire. Basically, there's 5 of us brothers. We put it together, having we continue to evolve this Tongues of Fire album today. But I, Chief Coconut, alias e.Celi, alias Stanley Jakowski, as Professor Benjamin Washington, we have to be smart in the politics and uplift our women to become leaders and CEOs. And if you've not visited the 1870s startup company, 1870s brewing company, they're the only female owned and run and not partnered with other females. This is a mom and daughter, like mom and pop, but it's a mom and daughter business. And the daughter is I call her the brewing expert. She is the Annie Oakley of brewing today in 2023, 21st century, Modesto, California, the American graffiti, 50 years hip hop, 50 years American graffiti. It's been the past 50 years, free men, the civil rights that was already started by Abe Lincoln himself in 1861 to 1865, but he died April 1865. He was shot by an actor in that theater named Booth because he was known by everybody. Like any young, Selena Quintanilla, her fan club president, killed Selena. So good things get stopped by the demons. Demons stop. I'm praying, if Biden gets reelected, he reminds me of Abe Lincoln, but the older man. His older man. So I'm not saying he's Abe Lincoln, the spirit of Abe Lincoln, but United States, it's a reconstruction from COVID-19. We're at that situation. All right, I'm going to close. It's already past 9 o'clock. I'm going to sing the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, holy, holy is thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, deliver us from every evil. For the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours now and forever. Amen. Yeah, so that's the closing of the circle. It's spiritual warfare. And I, Stanislaus, Chief Coconut, Chief Lapu 007, alias Chief Coconucci, e.Celi, in character as Professor Benjamin Washington. Support. A better USA, reconstructing, improving, inclusion after the COVID-19 pandemic, where over 1 million USA citizens died. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Instagram Live, Friday Reds. Support. We the people. Thank you. Thank you.